Mysore city. Well, viewers, those were the headlines in our top focus. India-US trade ties remain strained. The US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick has now predicted that India would say sorry and return to the table with President Donald Trump in the coming months. Howard Lutnick has further stated that after Washington had imposed sweeping 50% tariffs on all Indian goods, the decision will now rest with President Trump on how he wants to deal with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now, following Lutnick's remarks, President Trump softened his rhetoric. Earlier, he warned that the US had lost India to China. Now, he insists that ties with India remain special. Trump has stated that he is disappointed with India's oil purchases from Russia, but has stressed his strong personal bond with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Meanwhile, in response, Prime Minister Modi stated that he appreciates and fully reciprocates Trump's sentiments, reaffirming a commitment to the India-US Comprehensive Global Strategic Partnership. With us on the broadcast is Mr. Jayajit Bhattacharya, an economist and financial expert, joining us live from New Delhi. Thank you so much for taking our time speaking to us on NewsX World. We've seen some interesting developments take place over the course of the day as far as India-US relations are concerned. There is still a lot of concern, especially regarding the 50% tariffs that are still applicable on Indian goods. But we've seen the comments made by Howard Lutnick as far as his prediction that India would turn around and say sorry to Washington. And within 24 hours of these comments itself, Donald Trump has come out and stated that ties between the two countries still remain special. What do you make of this very swift softening of rhetoric as far as US's approach towards India and India's purchase of Russian oil is concerned?
You know, these developments were triggered by the post that President Trump of US had made on his social media platform, the Truth Social, where he said that India is lost to China and the deepest, darkest China were his words. That was in a way an admission of loss. And clearly that kind of goes against his own principles of how to do a deal, which is what he wrote in his own book, that one should not admit a loss. So it seems that the US administration has realized that they've taken a series of steps which are not in the best interest geopolitically or in the best interest of US. Now, clearly, both parties in this particular conversation, which is India and the US, stand to lose. It's a lose-lose deal. It's a lose-lose situation, because if the US does not import from India, it'll end up importing from China or other countries where US would not like to shift its imports to. And on the other hand, a strengthened India, sitting in its geographically in the position it is in, is a asset for the US. Also, do keep in mind that the US competitiveness will be significantly hit if US does not leverage the IT prowess and the services prowess that India brings in onto the table. And the same way, India stands to lose if India's capability in services and IT is not leveraged. And hence, the direction that this relationship was moving was a completely lose-lose direction. The current statements kind of signal that the US administration has realized that they may not have taken the best possible steps from a geopolitical perspective in terms of India. And they probably miscalculated that India will crumble and open up the red lines in its trade negotiation, which is how this whole situation started, where because of political reasons, the domestic political reasons and domestic economic reasons, and food security reasons, India just cannot open up agriculture and dairy, which is the same concerns that US has. And therefore, trying to pry open India's the agricultural market and dairy market, and doing everything that has happened in the last 1.5 months, including the 50% tariff, and trying to insert US between India and Pakistan and claiming credit for the ceasefire in Operation Sindoor. I think those are all pinpricks, and they should now get papered over now that the US seems to be coming around to this particular realization.
Indeed, there have been several remarks made over the last couple of weeks, including from Trump and his close advisors such as Peter Navarro. Trump himself called India a dead economy. Navarro went a step further, calling the war between Russia and Ukraine as Modi's war. But it seems that New Delhi did not take the bait. Prime Minister Modi thus far remained mum and only acknowledged Trump when he made this particular statement, highlighting the rapport that the two leaders shared. Is this now signaling, as well as India's presence in Tianjin, signaling to Washington that you cannot trample over India's strategic autonomy, that India will not be a vassal state?
India has been a civilizational state. It's a mature, statesmanly nation. It has a 7,000-year-old history, and therefore it has behaved appropriately in this particular manner, in this particular situation. It will be inappropriate to respond to such remarks which are not really backed by any data. If we look at just the fact calling India a dead economy, it's a powerhouse in 2025, and so it was in the last couple of years. It's the only major economy that's growing this fast. It's also a major contributor to global growth. So it's inappropriate to call India's economy a dead economy. Similarly, the other remarks, I will not go into the details. It obviously, at any yardstick, these remarks are condescending and inappropriate from a geopolitical perspective. It is appropriate that India maintained silence on those issues and did not respond, which also provides the correct environment for the rapprochement to happen, because that is what's good for the people of America and the people of India, and therefore the response from India has helped create a situation where we can mend fences, get into a trade deal, and move forward.
All right, Mr. Bhattacharya, with that, I would like to thank you for taking out time, sharing your perspective on NewsX World.